Hollywood once worshipped them like goddesses, but now everything has changed. Their beauty has transformed so much that people no longer recognize them. Facelifts, injections, surgeries, and the arrival of old age. In this video, we'll explore the transformations of 60s to 80s actresses and uncover why things turned out this way. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's dive in. Faye Dunaway. Back then, Faye Dunaway's sharp beauty was so intense it made people uneasy. Voluminous blonde hair, gray eyes, high cheekbones, straight nose, and skin as smooth as Italian plaster. In Bonnie and Clyde, she didn't just portray a seductive criminal, she became a defiant icon of her time. But now, at the age of 84, that very face now stirs sorrow. Her hair has turned dull gray, thin and pressed against her scalp. Her cheeks appear swollen as if filled with foreign material, her forehead stretched unnaturally shiny, and her neck is wrinkled like overworn silk. Her once deep eyes now seem slightly off, with stiff, mildly swollen eyelids, and her smile has grown crooked, strained. It's believed she underwent at least 3 facelifts, regular Botox injections, and cheek augmentation. Perhaps it was the perfection she once had that made her unable to accept aging. But the price of chasing her former image is now the hesitant stares from the public. Dunaway now lives quietly, refuses interviews, and rarely makes appearances. Sissy Spacek. Sissy Spacek is proof that true beauty comes from within. In Carrie, her haunted eyes, flaming red hair, and deeply wounded expressions left a lasting impression on viewers. Sissy made people see themselves in the character's pain. In 2025, at the age of 75, Spacek doesn't hide her age. Her hair is pure white and thinning, usually tied in a simple bun at the nape of her neck. Her face is lined with wrinkles, her eye sockets sunken, her cheeks hollow. Her neck and hands bear all the signs of time. But when she smiles, everything seems to remain intact. True beauty never disappeared. It simply changed form. Sissy still takes walks with her husband of over 50 years on their Virginia farm and still occasionally acts. She plays lonely mothers, wounded wives, and wise grandmothers, and audiences love her more than ever. Sissy has become an anchor for memory, a face that aged honestly, lived sincerely, and acted truthfully. Kelly McGillis. In the 1980s, Kelly McGillis was a figure unlike any other. Her beauty came from her clear blue eyes, a delicately sculpted face like classical statues, and the confident demeanor of a woman who knew her worth. Her golden hair, radiant skin, and nearly academic charm made Kelly a distinctive icon among Hollywood stars. But now, at the age of 68, Kelly McGillis no longer resembles the Charlie fans remember standing beside Tom Cruise. She has gained significant weight, her face rounder, shoulders broader, and her body heavier. Her skin is darker, with visible age spots and wrinkles. Her gray hair is loosely tied at the back, her face bare of makeup, and her gaze has lost the sharpness it once held. Seen in person, many would assume she's a retired school teacher from a quiet rural town, not a former star who once shook the screen. But that change wasn't just the result of time. In 2016, she was attacked by a stranger in her own home, a traumatic event that led her to withdraw from Hollywood, live reclusively in North Carolina, and even decline the invitation to appear in Top Gun Maverick, 2022. McGillis once said, "I don't live to maintain an image, I live to be myself." And because of that, she became one of the rare faces who dared to be completely honest about her transformation. Kathleen Turner. In the 1980s, Kathleen Turner was the figure every director craved and every audience admired. In Body Heat, she walked across the screen like a summer storm, her husky voice like aged whiskey, her smoldering gaze, her tall figure, and a presence that needed no permission to dominate the scene. Turner was beauty laced with danger. In 2025, at age 71, that image had faded into the past. A minor pain years ago became a death sentence for her appearance. Turner was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, a disease that gradually erodes every joint, every movement. To cope, she took high-dose steroids, which came at a cost: a swollen face, a thick neck, distorted features, and hormonal imbalances that radically altered her body. Her hair thinned, her face lost symmetry, and the Hollywood spotlight quietly moved on. She once shared, "If they don't need this real face, I'll perform somewhere else." She returned to the stage, bringing her aching body and truth into the light. In a world full of artificial makeup, the wrinkles on her face were what made audiences fall silent. Vanessa Redgrave. In the 1970s, Vanessa Redgrave radiated a regal elegance. Her long face, deep and serious eyes, platinum hair light as morning mist, and the lean, toned figure of a dancer made her the embodiment of classic British grace. On screen, she entered the frame as someone who already possessed authority. Her silence alone was enough to leave others breathless. Today, as she turned 88, that image had nearly completely disintegrated. Vanessa was still thin, but it was the frailty of someone who had lived too long, bones visible at her neck and shoulders, hands lightly trembling, and each step increasingly delicate. The once elegant face was now covered in deep-set wrinkles. Her skin sagged, her eyes dimmed, her lips lost color, her white hair was thin and flat. She allowed time to reveal everything. Time had rendered Vanessa's appearance no longer suited to any cinematic frame. She withdrew from lead roles by the mid-2010s and now appears only at memorials or humanitarian events. And it is that very silence that has made her one of the last icons truly honest with herself. Carol Burnett. There was a time when just one raised eyebrow from Carol Burnett could make millions of Americans burst into laughter. Her face was friendly, bright, and always full of energy. Big eyes, a high nose, wide lips, and red or light orange hair styled in a playful puff. She appeared like a warm breeze among a sea of stylized faces. Recently, at age 92, that figure has now shrunk. She is noticeably shorter, thinner, and spends more time sitting than standing. Her steps are slow, her back curved, her walk needing gentle support. The once expressive face is now lined with wrinkles, especially around her mouth and eyes. Her hair is now white, cropped short, thin, and without its signature volume. Her skin is thin, age spots are visible, eyelids droop, and her gaze has grown heavy. Yet whenever she smiles, a flicker of her old light still breaks through, like the final sunlight sneaking past heavy clouds. She chooses to face aging with the grace of someone who has laughed enough, acted enough, and lived enough. And when she appears at tribute ceremonies, people applaud not because she remains the same, but because she remains real. Carol Burnett is no longer the emblem of youthful comedy, but a symbol of authenticity. Diane Keaton. Diane Keaton was once the embodiment of captivating eccentricity in American cinema. With a long, delicate face, high nose, clear eyes, and perfectly aligned teeth, she combined these features with oversized shirts, loose blazers, large glasses, and a fedora, looking unlike any other actress of the 1970s. In Annie Hall, she wasn't just playing the female lead. She became a trend. That style, along with her tall, slender figure, made audiences find her strange, yet impossible to look away from. Now, at the age of 79, Diane Keaton stands as clear proof that not everyone chooses to stay young through plastic surgery. Her face has sunken, her cheeks are hollow, and deep wrinkles have formed around her mouth, across her forehead, and near her eyes. Her neck skin sags gently, her eyelids droop, and her gaze carries a hint of fatigue. Her hair is now completely gray, straightened, neatly cut, or simply tied back. And yet, oddly enough, she hasn't lost her presence. Still wearing oversized blazers, gloves, sunglasses, Only now, under all that clothing, is a different body. Keaton no longer plays romantic leads, but she still holds lead roles, precisely because she never pretended to be someone else. In a world full of identical faces altered by cosmetic procedures, Keaton walks forward as herself, upright, aging, but never stepping back. Shelley Duvall. When The Shining premiered, Shelley Duvall was haunting not just because of her acting, but because of a look that resembled no one else. Large, wide, anxious eyes, a petite nose, a small mouth, and expressions that always seemed on the verge of breaking down. Her center-parted black hair and fragile, slender figure gave her a look that was both pitiful and strange, perfect for the offbeat roles of the 1970s and 80s. But after the year 2000, Shelley vanished from the screen. When journalists caught up with her in 2021, the public could barely recognize the woman who once left Hollywood speechless. She had gained weight, her face was swollen, her skin pale and ashen, her hair gray and messy, almost unkempt. Her eyes remained large, but the gaze was tired and vacant. All that was left was an aging, weary body, long withdrawn from the world. Shelley lived in seclusion in Texas, suffering from diabetes and showing signs of mild mental illness. Her transformation was not simple aging. It was the consequence of isolation, illness, and being abandoned by Hollywood once her looks no longer served the camera. She passed away in 2024, but that final image still lingers. A beauty that once moved so many hearts. Linda Hamilton. In 1991, if anyone mentioned a female action hero, no one surpassed Linda Hamilton. In Terminator 2, she wasn't just a symbol of strength, she was a revolution in the portrayal of women on screen. With firm muscles, a face as sharp as stone, short hair flying through explosions, and eyes that always seemed to be scanning the future, her portrayal of Sarah Connor forced the world to redefine what strength looked like. But by 2025, when Linda turned 68, time had inevitably left its marks. Her skin is now noticeably wrinkled, her hair completely white, neatly cropped and no longer carrying the wild volume of the past. Her face is no longer smooth. And yet, she still possesses a toned physique, a testament to discipline and a life committed to training. She does not fight aging. She collaborates with it. Linda continues to act. The action roles she takes now no longer involve chasing killer robots, but facing time and memory. And what audiences love about her now is not the image she once had, but the courage to walk through aging without ever losing who she truly is. Betty White. Throughout nearly a century of life and work, Betty White embodied something rare in Hollywood, a sense of humor that never went out of style. From the Mary Tyler Moore Show to the Golden Girls, she wasn't just an actress. She was a close friend through the television screen. With her round, kind face, sharp eyes, radiant smile like the first morning sun, and softly curled blonde hair, Betty didn't just make people laugh. She comforted them. She brought joy to generations without gimmicks, without pretense. By 2021, when Betty passed away just weeks before her 100th birthday, people didn't only mourn a legend, they mourned the feeling of peace she used to bring. Even nearing a century of life, Betty still held on to a special charm. The wrinkles around her eyes and mouth didn't dim the light in her gaze. On the contrary, the image of Betty White lives on in millions of hearts. Sally Kirkland. In the 1980s, if anyone embodied the passion and pain of independent cinema, it was Sally Kirkland. With her golden hair, smoldering eyes, and a free-spirited beauty with a European flair, she wasn't a box office star, but she was the queen of intense, emotional roles. In Anna, 1987, she portrayed a washed-up actress with such raw, haunting honesty that it propelled her straight into the ranks of Hollywood's boldest female artists. Recently, at the age of 84, Sally Kirkland presents a very different face. Deep wrinkles, sagging skin, and especially the area around her mouth now appear unnaturally tightened. Both the media and audiences have clearly noticed the signs of an unsuccessful cosmetic procedure. Her cheeks look swollen, her eyelids stiff, and the once graceful lips have lost their symmetry. Perhaps it was a longing for youth that led her to this choice. Though she still participates in small film projects, the glow that once surrounded Sally is gone. People no longer talk about her performances. They whisper instead about the strange appearance she now shows each time she appears in public. Ali MacGraw. In 1970, just one film, Love Story, was enough to turn Ali MacGraw into a cultural icon. With her long, sleek black hair, refined nose, melancholic eyes, and the gentle beauty of an Ivy League schoolgirl, she was the dream of an entire generation. Not too sharp, not overtly seductive, her grace and simplicity made her stand out in an era full of flashy starlets. But after reaching her peak, Ali chose a different path. She gradually withdrew from Hollywood, never fought against being forgotten, and never fought against aging. At age 86, she presents a new image. Completely gray hair, either tied neatly at the back or left naturally loose, deeply wrinkled skin, and a face once slender now bearing the marks of time, especially around the eyes and mouth. And yet, instead of looking unfamiliar, she still holds on to her essence. She chose a slower life, devoted herself to charity work, and stayed away from the spotlight. The public doesn't see her often anymore, but every time Ali appears, there's a moment of silence. For one simple reason: true beauty never disappears. Linda Evans. Throughout the 1980s, Linda Evans was considered the standard of elegant beauty on American television. Her delicate face, straight nose, thick blonde hair, and regal demeanor made her the iconic face of Dynasty, not because of heavy makeup, but because of a timeless confidence and grace. Her acting was not overly sharp, but her gaze and poise blended so harmoniously that audiences found her both approachable and mysteriously captivating. By 2025, as Linda reached the age of 82, several photos posted on Instagram revealed that she still retained a youthful look that left fans exclaiming, "Can't believe she's that age." Her silver hair remained moderately thick, usually tied neatly or styled in a low bun, her style still elegant. Her face showed gentle wrinkles, especially around the eyes and mouth, but without any noticeably tight stretching. Some sources speculated she may have had minor cosmetic procedures, but most fans still saw a natural and slender Linda, an understated beauty that aged gracefully. She no longer acts in films, but continues to make public appearances with a calm and refined presence. Teri Garr. Teri Garr was once one of the most charming and approachable faces on American screens in the 1970s and 80s, with bright blonde hair, an open smile, and a naturally comedic expression that made audiences feel like she was the cheerful neighbor next door. In films like Tootsie and Young Frankenstein, she delivered a soft yet profound comedic style, leaving a lasting impression not for glamour, but for authenticity and subtle performance. However, at the end of 2024, Teri Garr passed away at the age of 79, due to complications from multiple sclerosis, MS, a disease she had lived with for over 20 years, one that had slowed her career since the early 2000s. In her final public appearances, the symptoms were clear: a gaunt face, wrinkled skin, thinning and slightly coarse hair. She often required a wheelchair or assistance when appearing in public, and her expressions had grown minimal, mostly gentle smiles and quiet eyes, no longer as radiant as before. The changes were often painful to see, yet Garr turned them into a powerful final chapter, one of resilience, authenticity, and deep compassion. Joan Van Ark. Joan Van Ark, born in 1943, is best known for her role as Valene Ewing in Knots Landing. In the 1980s, she embodied the image of refined American elegance: smooth, flowing blonde hair, a long, graceful face with defined cheekbones, and contemplative but determined eyes. She represented a woman of emotional depth, sophisticated without embellishment. Today, as she reached age 82, photos from the We're Not Done Yet reunion podcast revealed noticeable changes. Her hair had turned completely white, thin, and was tied back in a low bun. Her face displayed deep wrinkles around her eyes and mouth, especially when smiling, creating a slightly stiff expression, likely the result of one or more minor cosmetic procedures, such as facial lifts or filler injections. The once defined contours of her cheeks now appeared slightly swollen and rigid, lacking the softness of before. Joan herself admitted in a recent exclusive interview that she no longer recognized the reflection of her past self. That transformation has led her to appear less in public. She no longer acts and lives a quiet life, only occasionally attending events to speak about her podcast, theater, and fond memories of the past. Meg Foster. Meg Foster stood out most in Ticket to Heaven and The Scarlet Letter, thanks to her piercingly sharp blue eyes and enigmatic presence. In her youth, her eyes were large and intense, becoming her unmistakable trademark, a beauty that didn't need makeup, only a glance to leave a haunting impression. In several 2025 photos shared on Reddit by fans, now at the age of 77, people still praise those cold blue eyes, still sharp and strangely captivating despite her age. Her facial skin appears drier, with pronounced wrinkles around her eyes, mouth, and forehead. Her hair is silver, thinner now, but there are no signs of cosmetic surgery. She has maintained a fully natural appearance. Perhaps it's this very choice that makes the coolness of nature mixed with aging all the more mysterious. Meg still occasionally appears in small roles in independent projects, living a quiet life. Although her career is no longer in the spotlight, those eyes still cause anyone who once saw her old photos to recall her instantly. Sally Struthers. Sally Struthers was once a radiant symbol of 1970s American television. At the height of All in the Family, she stood out not only for her smart humor, but also for her smiling blue eyes, round cheeks, and voluminous blonde hair that looked straight out of a postcard celebrating the American dream. But now, at age 78, Struthers' image has changed. In rare appearances at charity theater events in New England, she's been seen with a heavier frame, thinner hair dyed a light blonde that couldn't hide its fragility and weakness. Her face still retains a kind-hearted warmth, but the deep wrinkles around her eyes and mouth have grown with time. Even so, traces of her former charm still peek through the years. Though she has stepped away from the big screen, Sally remains active in local theater and international child relief campaigns. The changes in her appearance have distanced her from the 1970s ideal, but they have done nothing to diminish the qualities that once won over the hearts of audiences across America. Marlo Thomas. In the 1960s, Marlo Thomas embodied the rising era of women's empowerment, elegant, confident, and always ahead of her time. With long, glossy brown hair, a smile sweet as Italian chocolate, and expressive eyes, she was the dream girl that neither women nor men could look away from. But 2025 presents a different image. At 87, Marlo appeared in a controversial clip on The Today Show, where her face looked stiff and unusually distorted, sparking speculation about excessive cosmetic procedures. The once vibrant eyes now seemed overly stretched, her cheeks stiff like wax, and the corners of her mouth appeared unable to relax. Her hair is still dyed brown but thin and brittle, creating a stark contrast between the effort to appear youthful and a body that can no longer keep up. Marlo now devotes most of her time to philanthropy with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, the greatest legacy she leaves behind after the spotlight. Yet in the public eye, many feel a quiet regret. If only she had let time do its work, she could have aged with the pride and dignity of the very that girl character she once so iconically portrayed, Tina Louise. Tina Louise was once an unquenchable flame in America's imagination during the 1960s. In her role as Ginger Grant on Gilligan's Island, she appeared on screen as an effortlessly seductive icon. With flaming red hair, a curvaceous figure like poetry, and lips that always seemed to whisper some mysterious secret. Now, at the age of 91, Tina is a quiet shadow of herself. Rare paparazzi photos taken as she walked through a residential neighborhood in New York show a very elderly woman, hunched over, frail, her face gaunt and her pale skin etched with the marks of time. Her hair is now a thin silver veil, often covered by a hat. Tina has refused all interviews and hasn't appeared at any public events in over a decade. Perhaps it's because she doesn't want the world to compare. A former sex symbol and the elderly woman she is now. But to those who once adored that fiery red presence, the image of her in her prime still lives on. Lauren Tewes. Lauren Tewes was once the radiant face of the 1970s, a friendly, beautiful Julie McCoy who smiled at every passenger aboard the Love Boat. With glowing skin, golden hair, and charm like sunshine, Lauren became a television icon without even trying. But that spotlight didn't last long. By 2025, at age 71, those who once loved her can't help but feel a jolt of sadness upon seeing her in the rare candid photos that surface. Her figure clearly shows signs of aging. Her hair is silver and thin, and her face bears the deep traces of time and of a troubled past with addiction. In truth, Lauren was fired from the Love Boat due to cocaine dependency, and the toll of those years is now etched visibly in her appearance. Lauren now lives quietly, away from the media and the entertainment world, only occasionally appearing at small events related to recovery and community service. Her changed appearance may no longer reflect the iconic image of the past, but for many, it's a more honest and real one. Linda Day George. In the early 1970s episodes of Mission Impossible, Linda Day George appeared as the perfect female spy. Beautiful, intelligent, and commanding. With softly curled blonde hair, piercing eyes, and a tough, agile presence, she captivated audiences with equal parts admiration and awe. She didn't need to dress provocatively or say much. Just stepping into the frame was enough to silence a room. In 2025, Linda is now 80 years old, and time spares no one. In recent images, she appears as an elderly woman with silver hair, a slender face lined with deep creases around her mouth, drooping eyes, and a slow, measured gait. She no longer appears on screen. Linda now lives peacefully by the sea, far removed from the controversies of Hollywood. To longtime fans, she's still remembered as a symbol of strength and grace, and though her appearance has long since faded from its former glory, they never forget who she once was. Michael Learned. At the time the Waltons ruled American television, Michael Learned was the quintessential TV mother. Gentle, cheerful, and so warm that just seeing her could bring a sense of comfort. With kind eyes and a calm presence, she didn't need embellishment to stand out. She embodied compassion during a period when television often reflected war and crisis. By 2025, Michael is 86 years old. She appears extremely rarely, and in her most recent photos, her hair is silver like early morning mist, her frame thin and fragile, and her smile still carries a quiet kindness that makes it hard to look away. Though she has completely stepped away from acting, Michael Learned remains a lasting icon of classic American television. Her appearance now is the mark of a journey completed. But in the hearts of many generations, that face is still Mother, thanks to the light she once brought to the small screen. Cindy Williams. Cindy Williams was once the joyful soul of the series Laverne and Shirley, a bright face, mischievous eyes, and a charming comedic flair that viewers couldn't forget. On screen, she brought a sense of familiarity and everyday warmth, like the girl next door everyone wanted to talk to. But by 2025, that name belongs to the past, forever. Cindy passed away in January 2023 at the age of 75. Before her departure, she was no longer the energetic woman bounding through a 1970s sitcom. Her silver hair was visible, her face deeply lined with time, her voice slower. But in her eyes, there was still a flicker of the mischief she once had. She never opted for cosmetic surgery. She didn't hide aging. She just slowed down. Cindy's passing didn't send shockwaves like the deaths of major stars, but to the millions who once laughed with her, it struck a deep, quiet note. They didn't mourn her aging. They mourned the closing of a piece of their youth, wrapped in a face that once made the world laugh along. Rae Dawn Chong. In the 1980s, Rae Dawn Chong was like a gust of fresh air sweeping across Hollywood screens. With a mixed heritage of Chinese, Black, and Scottish roots, she had a look like no other. Bronzed skin, luminous eyes, and a presence that was always ready to erupt. Commando, quest for fire. She didn't just play beautiful roles, she was the embodiment of wildness and modernity colliding. Recently, Rae is 64 years old. Her eyes are still sharp, her smile still radiant, but time makes no exceptions. Recent photos show her hair has thinned, fine wrinkles are visible around her eyes, and her once toned figure has softened. Every change on her face is a timestamp, proof of a life lived, experiences gathered, and no regrets. Rae Dawn Chong still takes on roles. Not many, but enough to keep one foot in the spotlight. Her beauty has quieted, but it still turns heads, not because she's clinging to the past, but because she is a middle-aged woman still beautiful in her own unique way. Diana Muldaur. Diana Muldaur was never the kind of beauty who drew gasps, but she was the kind of woman who made people fall silent and listen. In L.A., Law and Star Trek: The Next Generation, Diana consistently embodied intelligence, composure, and a quiet, refined elegance. Her voluminous blonde hair, sharp features, and air of sophistication made her stand out among the sea of glamorous starlets in the 1980s. Today, at the age of 86, she no longer appears on screen. Her face now bears the imprint of time, a higher forehead, sunken cheeks, thinning hair, and naturally wrinkled skin. She lives a quiet life, declining most interviews and staying away from Hollywood reunions. For longtime viewers, her recent image comes as a gentle shock, both saddening and respectful. Because no one can escape time, and Diana Muldaur proves that one can step away from the spotlight without ever leaving behind admiration. Amanda Bearse. As Marcy in Married, with children, Amanda Bearse didn't need to be a sex symbol to be memorable. She was the model of a smart, outspoken, and hilariously sharp woman. Her brown hair, piercing eyes, and signature tilted smile etched her into American television memory for over a decade. Today, at age 66, Amanda still carries that same lively spark, though her hair has turned silver and wrinkles now trace the corners of her eyes. Amanda surprises people because she's still there, still herself, even if time has taken away some of her outward youth. Amanda rarely appears in front of the camera, but she continues to thrive behind the scenes as a director. And her appearance, though changed, still makes many smile, because Marcy is still alive somewhere in those eyes. Kathy Silvers. Back in the day, Kathy Silvers was like a breath of fresh air on happy days. Soft blonde hair, a sharp, cheerful voice, and a gaze that always seemed to invite you on an adventure. She was America's lovable little sister of the 1970s. But time doesn't announce itself before it moves on, and by 2025, at age 64, Kathy's image gives many people pause when they come across it unexpectedly. The once radiant face has grown more angular with age. Her hair has thinned, and her features are marked with the kind of wrinkles that quietly whisper, "Happy days, truly are days gone by." No longer active in Hollywood, Kathy now spends her time with family, caring for herself and writing. She hasn't returned to the screen and doesn't regret it, but for viewers, The image of who she once was still lives on. Time steals the spotlight, but it leaves behind scars no makeup can ever hide. Do you still remember how dazzling they once were? And now, do you dare look back? Leave your thoughts in the comments, share this video, and don't forget to hit subscribe, because the secrets behind old Hollywood are far from over.